Shalom. First of all, let's start by giving all praises and glory due to Yahweh, Ba'Hashem Yahweh Shai, Ba'Hashem Rakah Kodash, and double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone, and salutations to the Archeum doing this work in sincerity and in truth. My name's Amarth Kwam, once again coming back at you with another quick video. This is regarding a news update, an article on Russia Today, entitled "Trump Threatens to Obliterate Turkey's Economy If It Does Anything Off Limits." Pretty much what we're seeing here is a pretext for the destruction of America, also known as Babylon the Great, or Mystery Babylon in the Bible. So we're going to read into this article and then go into a few scriptures and a bit of history surrounding the relationship between the US and Turkey as a part of NATO, or allies, an ally of NATO. So the article says, in a fairly blunt warning to the NATO ally, US President Donald Trump vowed to obliterate, which is aggressive language. You know, it's not really respectable. It's more like talking down to their ally, all right, or disrespectful. It says the Turkish economy, if he thinks it stepped out of line in Syria. He then told Ankara to watch over ISIS fighters in the US absence. All right, so you can see the heightened pride headed by the US against their allies. All right, it says, if Turkey does anything that I, in my great unmatched wisdom, Trump says, consider to be off limits, I will totally destroy and obliterate the economy of Turkey. I've done before. The president threatened via tweet on Monday. It says, an odd turn of phrase for what otherwise seemed like a dire warning to a supposed ally. All right. Just quickly scanning over this. It says, Trump called for Turkey to join Europe and others in watching over the captured ISIS, or Islamic State, fighters and families, just hours after announcing the US would finally pull out of northern Syria on Monday. The announcement triggered howls of fury from hawks in Congress and the media, as well as Southern experts in Middle Eastern politics who cried leaving Syria would abandon the Kurds to be torn apart by Turkey. All right, so pretty much them leaving would leave instability, or leave the country destabilized. Okay, leaving Turkey in more political instability, or basically instability, man. So from here, I just wanted to reflect on the relationship between the US and Turkey. And to do that, I'm going to go to this article, which is from Daily Sabah, Turkey-NATO Relationship, a Rocky Journey Since 1952. I'm just going to mention a few key points, all right, because Turkey joined NATO in 1952, all right, a relationship of about 67 years. I believe they was also refused, when you read this document, they was refused membership of NATO a few times before. However, joining the organization came at a cost. Turkey first fought besides NATO members in the Korean War, losing 721 soldiers, then became eligible to be a member of the organization, as its previous attempts to join it were unsuccessful. All right. So there was a desperation and a desire by Turkey to be a part of this alliance of NATO. All right, because there was a lot to be desired at that time in terms of trade, and you want to align yourself. Everyone wanted to align themselves with America because America's image, that image of being wealthy, strong, and who is likened unto America, man. A fierce country. Anyway, continuing on, let's look at the breakdown in relationships and the long history or between these allies. It says NATO disappointed Turkey more than once over the years. Just going to mention a few. It says, as one of the countries that contribute the most to the organization's mission, Turkey expects support from NATO in every aspect and is ready to act in the same way in return. However, although the country's NATO journey is full of joint missions, it is also full of disappointments and letdowns. The first disappointment came in 1964, when Turkey decided to take action in Cyprus, where the Turkish Cypriots were suffering under the Greek Cypriots. The US president at that time, Lyndon B. Johnson, sent a letter to Turkish President İsmet İnönü, if I'm saying that correctly, saying that in case of an invasion on the island, NATO would not side with the country. Known as the Johnson's letter, the incident became the first of many letdowns by NATO and left a negative impression on Turkish society. In 1974, the US disappointing attitude continued with an embargo on arms sales to Turkey following the country's intervention in Cyprus once again. It said the Cyprus case and the US and NATO's attitude during the process has never been forgotten by Turkey and created the beginning of anti-NATO and anti-US sentiment with the country, which was continued decades later. All right, so that sentiment of being anti-NATO and anti-US has grown since then, and it's only continuing to make relations worse. And the attitude expressed by the US shows you that there is enmity between the US and some of their allies, namely Turkey. Okay, so we can see that the Lord is mustering that aggression and pride in Trump's mind for the future of these prophecies to be fulfilled, in which the allies of the US are going to hate them and turn against them. All right, and prophecy is being put into place and falling into place very beautifully. And over time, you can, through understanding prophecy, you can see why these situations that we're going into have taken place, because it's all for prophecy. It says, let's look at some more. It says, one of the reasons behind the continued negative feelings against NATO is the organization's stance against Turkey's fight against terrorism, particularly the PKK. In the late 1990s, when the fight against the PKK was at its height in Turkey, particularly in the eastern regions of the country, Germany claimed that Turkey was using weapons against civilians and issued an embargo on the country instead of supporting its fight. Once again, it says, over time, siding with terrorists rather than Turkey became a pattern for many NATO member countries, which we know evidently so. America is always talking about, ISIS and this and that. But then when you later on, the same people that were so-called blamed for, the Twin Towers and so forth, you find out that Esau was funding them, man. America was funding these terrorist groups. It says the US has supported the PKK's Syrian affiliate, the People's Protection Units, YPG, in Syria for years now, despite Turkey's warnings again that the group is a security threat for them. So they've pretty much been doing everything for their own gain and continued that pride the whole time they was in this relation between the US and Turkey. So they've really rubbed up a lot of people in the wrong way, and it's only a matter of time before this envy and unrest in their partnership starts to go wrong. Let's see. I'm just going to scan down. You got another one. Veto led by US-based Fethullah Gulen sought to topple the Turkish government and seize power on July the 15th, 2016. This is more recent. The coup attempt was prevented by loyal military troops, police units, and millions of Turkish citizens. Some 250 people, mainly civilians, were killed by putschist soldiers. Still, the US, despite receiving evidence regarding Feto's role in the coup attempt, has not extradited Gulen to Turkey. All right. NATO also failed Turkey in supporting the country from the destructive nature of the civil war in Syria. In 2012, Turkey also asked NATO Patriot missiles be placed on its borders to secure them. However, although the missiles were in Turkey for some time, before long the NATO countries took them back, leaving Turkey alone to defend itself. And lastly, I'll read this one, and you brothers can read over the article, but you're getting a sentiment that Turkey's like to hell with the US, and if anything came down, they know that they're better in bed with Russia than to be anywhere near the idea of or confidence in US relations. When push comes to shove in this imminent war, World War III, the US, basically the allies of the US have no confidence or have lost a lot of trust because of previous dealings. It says in 2017, in what was a humiliating incident for Turkey during a joint NATO military exercise in Norway, a picture of Mustafa Kemal, a Turk, the founder of Turkey, was placed among the pictures of enemy states. During that time, a fake Facebook account was also issued under the name of President Recep Tayyip Erdogan, with posts favoring enemy states. The Turkish military officials took notice of the incidents. The necessary measures were taken by NATO, and a promise was issued to Turkey. Despite the fluctuating relationship, NATO continues to express Turkey's worth in the organization, saying that it is a strategic ally. Turkey is important for NATO, but NATO is also important for Turkey. The alliance is based on the core principle of one for all and all for one. All right, but scriptures that come to mind, the words of his mouth were smoother than butter. Drawn swords. And this guy is the devil, man. Let's get that real quick. This is Psalms 55:21. The words of his mouth were smoother than butter, but war was in his heart. His words were softer than oil, yet were they drawn swords. And everybody's catching wind of the characteristics of America right now. You know, these Edomites. They're catching wind that this guy is full of shit, so to speak. All right, and his promises are worth nothing. And the consequences of doing business with them, though you earn some wealth from being, you know, in alliance with them, you're still treated as insignificant. Or you're treated cheap. And pretty much that's gonna cause a lot of allies, you know, like Turkey, to destroy America or join in with the destruction of America, according to prophecy in World War III. So what we've just gone through is the breakdown in relations and the long history going back to the beginning of Turkey becoming allies with the US and joining alliance via or by way of NATO, North Atlantic Treaty Organization, which is supposed to offer security and in many occasions lacked its duty towards its ally. So from here, let's go to a couple of precepts, Obadiah 1 and 7. It says, all the men of thy confederacy, all right, so they're allies, people joined unto America, have brought thee even to the border, the men that were at peace with thee, all right, so it's supposed to be, as we read in that last few paragraphs, you know, Turkey's relationship is good and, you know, strategic ally, you know, we're brothers and so forth. So they're supposed to be so-called at peace with thee, them have deceived thee. All right, so they can't wait to get one over on America, and prevailed against thee. They that eat thy bread have laid a wound under thee. There is none understanding in him. You see, so that confederacy has its place for now, but in the time in the that was pretty much set up just so that the Lord can basically bring the nations against America. For a while it endured, but now you're starting to see the rust in their relations. So from here, let's go to Hosea 12 and 7. It says, he is a merchant, the balance of deceits are in his hand, he loveth to oppress. All right, and that's pretty much the same as America. All right, America is a great merchant. So that's one of the ways we know that America is Babylon the Great. All right, because it's that great merchant city which is going to be destroyed according to the revelations of John the Revelator in Revelations 18. America is that great merchant city which stands to be destroyed. But I'll read it again. It says, he is a merchant, the balances of deceit are in his hand. So people thought it was a good deal getting involved with America. But lo and behold, they see the devastations that they have done with these economic hitmen, in which Trump pretty much is a leader of. And in his statement, quite pompously, he said, I'll read it again. There it is. That's not the one. It's gone off. But anyway, there we go. See, because I clicked out of it. Anyway, you know what Trump said was that, you know, in his unmatched wisdom, he'll obliterate the Turkey's economy if they do anything, you know, even a hint, like acting like a parent, you know, to a child. So the way they've been treated, they're like, man, to hell with this damn alliance. You know, pretty much they feel like they're being oppressed. And they're being cut short. So from here, let's go to Zephaniah 1:11. It says, "How ye inhabitants of Maktesh," Maktesh being your stock markets, the ancient stock markets. "For all the merchant people are cut down, all they that bear silver are cut off." Right? So what you're seeing is this merchant city, America, a great country of much trade, and that's how they've become very wealthy. Pretty much the dollar is being devalued, all right, and their money's worth nothing. And that's why they're having to go into all these different wars to stay on top of their national debt. They're doing everything to salvage the belief in the dollar. The sentiment between a lot of their allies and their opposition, such as Russia and Iran, are doing everything to reduce and completely stop trade in the dollar. That's why they've put set embargoes and restrictions on trade between their allies and their oppositions, especially in the trade of intercontinental ballistic missiles and missile systems and weapon technologies. But ultimately, those weapon technologies are all going to be used against America. So, as Trump is saying that they're going to shut down the economy or mess up the economy, obliterate, as he says, the economy of Turkey, well, the Lord's going to obliterate the economy of America, right? And the merchant people are going to be cut off. So let's go from here to Revelations 18. I'm going to read a few different, jump around a bit. This says, Revelations 18:3, "For all nations have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her fornication." It's pretty much, they was down with America. You know, they took on democracy. They believed in the witchcraft and the sorcery of America and the way America was run, and did business with America. So everything they followed after the ways and customs of Babylon. "For all the nations have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her fornication, and the kings of the earth have committed fornication with her." All right, so it's nothing but wicked deals and odious works between anyone that joined in with them. And any deals that they pretty much did, yeah, they made some wealth, but in other senses, they suffered great loss. And the kings of the earth have committed fornication with her, and the merchants of the earth are waxed rich through the abundance of her delicacies. All right, so America is a country of great trade and trying to do everything to hold on to that status. And that's why, you know, Trump's threatening Turkey. Now let's jump from here to the 11th verse. It says, "And the merchants of the earth shall weep and mourn over her, for no man buyeth their merchandise anymore." So there's going to come a time where pretty much what Trump said about obliterating Turkey's economy is going to happen to America. And they too are going to suffer the obliteration of their economy, where no one's going to buy their merchandise anymore. Now, jumping forward to verse 15, it says, "The merchants of these things, which were made rich by her, shall stand afar off for the fear of her torment, weeping and wailing." Right, because America is going to be completely destroyed through thermonuclear destruction. And they're going to be like, wow, you know, that same city, man. That's why it says in verse 16, they describe, you know, the delicateness of America and the trade and how that status America had because of its trade. But in verse 17, it says, "For in 1 hour so great riches is come to naught." You see? So it didn't pay America to have that attitude with Turkey and their allies. But it's the Lord that's doing these things for prophecy's sake, man, for his word to be fulfilled. You know, the Lord's words do not return unto him void. Let's jump forward to verse 23. It says, "And the light of the candle shall shine no more at all in thee, and the voice of the bridegroom and the bride shall be heard no more at all in thee, for thy merchants were the great men of the earth." All right, these Amalekites are very wealthy in terms of, you know, being the head, the chief house of Satan. You know, they've been made very rich off of the back of their wickedness and off of these nations. And pretty much robbed them, you know, done backdoor deals and so forth. It says, for thy merchants were the great men of the earth, for by thy sorceries were all nations deceived. You see? So these nations were deceived, man, and they want vengeance upon America. So anyway, with that, like I said, we're seeing a pretext for the destruction of America based upon what Trump has said and according to prophecy. So stay tuned to the articles and the news, and Lord willing, you know, this thing continues to, you know, spur on or spiral on, so we can get the hell out of here today, Lord willing. But, you know, Lord's prophecies have to be fulfilled. So anyway, with that, to the next video, I'm going to say shalom.